Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare Lincoln pennies coin that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today, we've got a fascinating story for you, one that starts with a coin most people overlook every single day. We're talking about the United States 1-cent penny from 1971. Sounds ordinary, right? Just a little copper coin that's probably rolled around in someone's junk drawer for decades. But don't be fooled, this penny holds secrets. And if you happen to have the right one, you could be holding a small fortune. Before you run off to search your piggy bank, hang tight, because what makes this coin valuable is more than just its age. There are specific details, rare errors, and unique traits that set this coin apart from the billions of other pennies minted in the 70s. Let's take a closer look. The 1971 penny was struck during a time when the U.S. Mint was producing coins in massive quantities. Over 1.9 billion of these pennies were made in Philadelphia, and millions more in Denver and San Francisco. So how can a coin with such a high mintage be rare? Well, it all comes down to condition and mistakes. That's right, the most valuable 1971 pennies aren't your average worn-out coppers. The true treasures are the ones that slipped through the cracks of quality control. We're talking about rare mint errors, double dies, off-center strikes, and some truly wild misprints. One of the most sought after is the 1971 double die obverse. This error happens when the die that stamps the coin hits twice, slightly off position. The result? A doubled appearance on the date, the word liberty, and even, in God we trust. If you've got one of these, especially in excellent condition, you're looking at serious collector interest. And then there are the proof pennies from San Francisco. Proof coins are made with special care. They're struck multiple times with polished dies to give them that shiny, mirror-like finish. But once in a while, even these coins contain errors. Some 1971's proof pennies have been found with double dies, and those coins are extremely valuable. Collectors love these error coins not only because they're rare, but because they tell a story. A misprint like a double die is a frozen moment of human error, a rare glimpse into the minting process gone slightly wrong. That's what makes these coins so exciting to own. It's not just metal, it's a mystery, a moment in time, and a piece of history all rolled into one. Now, if you're thinking, okay, but how much is this thing really worth? Here's the part you've been waiting for. If you have a 1971 penny with the right error, especially one that's in pristine, uncirculated condition, it could be worth as much as $63,000. That's right. $63,000 for a single penny. So don't underestimate the power of that little coin. Next time you're going through your change, keep an eye out. Because the next coin you find might just be your ticket to an incredible payday. Top 2. We're diving into the world of the 1981 United States 1-cent penny. It's small, it's copper, and it's been passed over millions of times, but guess what? Some of these humble little coins could be worth a life-changing amount of money. At first glance, the 1981 penny seems completely ordinary. It's got Abraham Lincoln on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back, and it was minted by the millions. In fact, billions were produced in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco combined. So you might be wondering, what makes this coin so special? The answer lies in the details, the kind of details that most people miss. Because while most 1981 pennies are worth exactly 1 cent, a small number have rare traits and minting errors that turn them into collector gold. Let's talk about those errors and why collectors are obsessed with them. One of the most desirable types is the double die error, where the design is stamped twice, slightly misaligned. These can create a doubling effect on the letters and numbers, especially on words like liberty, in God we trust, and even the date. If you find a 1981 penny with clear doubling, don't spend it, because that's when the value jumps dramatically. Another thing to look out for is the off-center strike, where the coin design is visibly shifted, sometimes cutting off parts of the lettering or portrait. These mistakes happened when the coin blank wasn't aligned properly during minting. The more dramatic the shift, the more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date is still visible. And here's where it gets even more exciting. transitional errors. In 1982, the U.S. Mint changed the penny's composition from 95% copper to a zinc core with a thin copper coating. But in 1981, all official coins were still copper. That means if you ever come across a 1981 penny mistakenly struck on a zinc planchet, it's an incredibly rare find. Now let's talk about condition. For collectors, grade matters a lot. A coin with a rare error is great, but if it's also in uncirculated or mint state condition, that's where the real magic happens. A clean, sharp coin with no scratches, no fingerprints, and full original luster? That's what serious collectors are willing to pay big money for, and let's not forget proof coins. In 1981, the San Francisco Mint produced proof pennies, struck with extra care for collectors. But even among proofs, there are rare variations. Some 1981's proof pennies come with a Type 2 mint mark, which is clearer and more defined than the earlier Type 1. Type 2 proofs are rarer and more desirable, and that drives up their market value even further. So whether it's a bold double die, an off-center strike, a transitional planchet, or a rare proof variety, the 1981 penny has more hidden treasures than you might expect. And for collectors who know what to look for, it's one of the most exciting coins from the early 80s. Now for the part you've all been waiting for, the value. If you happen to own a 1981 1-cent penny with a rare error, especially in top-grade uncirculated condition, it could be worth as much as $52,000. Yes, you heard that right. One small penny. $52,000 in value. So go ahead, check your coin jars, old wallets, or inherited boxes of coins. You never know, your next big discovery could be hiding in plain sight. Top 3, it's all about one of the most iconic coins in American pocket change, the 1960 United States 1-cent penny. Now, I know what you're thinking. A penny? From the 60s? That can't be worth more than a few cents, right? But what if I told you that a rare version of this coin, with the right error and condition, could be worth more than a brand new car, or even more than a down payment on a house? That's right. This little copper coin might just be hiding a secret. So listen closely, because this is a story every coin lover and collector should hear. Let's rewind to 1960. America was in the middle of the Cold War, John F. Kennedy was running for president, and the U.S. Mint was busy striking pennies by the billions. The penny still featured Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. But in that massive production run, something happened that made certain 1960 pennies incredibly valuable today. The key? Variants and errors. And collectors absolutely love them. In 1960, the U.S. Mint produced two types of pennies, the large date and the small date varieties. At first glance, they look nearly identical. But if you look closely at the date, you'll notice a difference in the size and position of the numbers. The small date versions are rarer, especially from the Philadelphia Mint, and those are the ones collectors chase, but that's not all. There are even double die errors on some of these 1960 pennies. That means the coin was accidentally stamped twice, with a slight shift between each strike. The result? Doubling in the lettering, the numbers, and even Lincoln's features. These double die pennies are incredibly rare, and in high demand, and if you think that's exciting, wait until you hear this. There are known proof coins from 1960 that feature the wrong date style, a small date where a large one should be, or vice versa. These mismatched varieties are considered mint errors, and when combined with the pristine condition of a proof coin, they're worth serious money. Collectors are drawn to the 1960 penny for a few big reasons. First, it's a classic Lincoln cent, rich in history and design. Second, the year brought unique varieties that make for a fun hunt. And third, the mint errors and date differences give these coins true rarity, which is what drives up their value. Now, condition is everything. A 1960 penny with an error is already valuable, but if it's in uncirculated condition, with its original red luster and no wear, that's where the value skyrockets. Coins that have been protected in a collection or graded by a professional service can demand massive prices at auctions. So here's the big reveal. If you're lucky enough to find a 1960 penny with a rare double die error, or a highly sought-after small-date variety in top condition, it could be worth as much as $59,000, yes, you heard that correctly. 1 penny. 59,000 in value. So next time you're digging through an old jar of coins or sorting through your change, don't overlook that 1960 cent. It might just be one of the rarest and most valuable coins in your entire collection. Top 4, we're diving into a coin that many people toss aside without a second thought, the 1974 United States 1-cent penny, but here's the catch, some of these 1974 pennies are not what they seem. They might be small, lightweight, and copper-colored, but the right one could be hiding a story, and a serious payday. So, if you've ever wondered what makes this little coin so valuable to collectors, stay tuned. You won't want to miss a single detail. Let's start with a little background. The 1974 penny was minted during a time of change. The price of copper was rising fast, and the U.S. Mint started looking for cheaper materials to make coins. So in 1974, while billions of pennies were being produced in copper, the Mint also began experimenting with aluminum to create a new type of cent. Only a small number of these aluminum 1974 pennies were ever struck, and they were never released into circulation. Most were melted down. But a few slipped through the cracks. These ultra-rare aluminum test pennies are practically unicorns in the coin world, and owning one is like holding a piece of minting history. Now, let's talk errors. Even among the regular copper 1974 pennies, there are rare mistakes that can make your coin worth far more than a single cent. One of the most desirable is the double die obverse, where the design on the front of the coin appears slightly doubled. This type of error is especially visible in the lettering of Liberty or In God We Trust, and when it appears clearly and sharply, collectors go wild for it. There are also off-center strikes, die cracks, and even rare planchet errors, where the coin was struck on the wrong type of metal blank. Any of these mistakes can turn an everyday 1974 penny into a valuable collectible, but it doesn't stop there. Proof coins, especially from the San Francisco Mint, are also a hot item. These were made with extra care, giving them a mirror-like finish and sharp details. If you find a 1974 proof penny with a rare error or in perfect condition, that coin can fetch impressive money on the collector's market. And then, of course, we have to talk about condition. A rare error on a worn-out coin? It might still have some value. But a rare error in pristine, uncirculated condition? That's where the big bucks are. The highest graded examples, clean surfaces, sharp detail, untouched by circulation, are the ones that attract serious offers from collectors and auction houses alike. So why does the 1974 penny fascinate so many people? It's a coin caught between two worlds, between tradition and change, between copper and aluminum, between ordinary and extraordinary. Whether it's an experimental aluminum strike, a bold mint error, or a top-grade specimen, this coin has become a legend among collectors. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. If you're lucky enough to have a 1974 1-cent penny with the right combination of rarity, error, and condition, it could be worth as much as $65,000. That's right. 1 penny, $65,000 in value. So don't ignore those old coins in your drawer or dismiss that pile of pennies in the jar. Take a closer look, because you just might be holding one of the rarest little treasures in American coin history. Top 5, we're diving into the incredible story of the 1980 United States 1-cent penny, a coin you've probably seen hundreds of times before. But hidden among the billions made that year, there are rare versions that are highly sought after by collectors, and they could be worth a shocking amount of money. Now, don't be fooled by how common the 1980 penny seems. It was a year of massive coin production, with the U.S. Mint striking over 7.4 billion pennies in Philadelphia, and another 5.1 billion in Denver. That's a lot of pocket change. But here's where it gets interesting. Some of those coins contain errors, rare, valuable minting mistakes, that make them stand out from the rest. And for the people lucky enough to find one, those small copper coins could mean a major payday. Let's get into the good stuff. What exactly should you be looking for on a 1980 penny? First off, there's the double die error. This happens when the coin die, basically the stamp used to imprint the design on the coin, strikes the planchet more than once, but slightly misaligned. The result is what collectors call doubling, and it's most noticeable on the lettering. So if you look closely and see any unusual thickness or shadows in the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust," or even the date itself, hold on to that coin. A clear double die error can skyrocket a penny's value. Another major feature that collectors go wild for is the off-center strike. That's when the design is printed too far to one side, causing part of it to be cut off. The more off-center the strike, the rarer and more desirable the coin, especially if the date is still visible. These coins are true eye-catchers and highly collectible. There are also repunched mint marks to look out for, especially on 1980 pennies from the Denver Mint. This error happens when the mint mark is punched more than once in a slightly different location, creating a sort of shadow effect on the letter D. These little quirks are a big deal in the numismatic world, and don't overlook planchet errors, like coins that were struck on the wrong metal blank. For example, a 1980 penny struck on a dime planchet, thinner, smaller, and made of a different metal, would be incredibly rare and valuable. Now here's something even more fascinating. 1980 was a transitional time for coin production. While most pennies were still being made with a high copper content, changes were on the horizon. So if you happen to find a 1980 penny that weighs significantly less or more than expected, it could be struck on a planchet intended for a different coin or foreign currency. These types of minting anomalies are extremely rare, but they do exist, and they can fetch big bucks at auctions, but rarity alone isn't enough. Condition matters just as much. A coin that's been through decades of circulation, scratched, dull, and worn, won't sell for nearly as much as one that's crisp, shiny, and in mint state. Collectors pay top dollar for uncirculated coins, those with sharp details, no wear, and full luster. Coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC can command even higher prices, especially when errors are involved. Think about it, a coin that millions of people handled without a second thought, could be one of the few rare errors minted that year. That's the kind of discovery collectors dream about, and this is what makes coin collecting so exciting. It's not just about history or shiny metal, it's about the thrill of the hunt. The idea that a simple coin in your change jar, or one passed down from a family member, could be worth a fortune. That's why thousands of people around the world search through pennies every day, hoping to find one of these rare gems, and now, the moment you've been waiting for. If you're lucky enough to own a 1981-cent penny with a rare double die, dramatic off-center strike, or struck on the wrong planchet, and it's in top-tier condition, it could be worth as much as $54,000, yes, you heard that right. A single penny. $54,000 in value. So go ahead, check your piggy banks, dig into that old coin jar, or take a second look at the pennies in your collection. Because you never know, one of them might be the key to your next big find. Top 6, we're diving into a fascinating piece of American history, the 1976 United States 1-cent penny. You may be thinking, it's just a penny, but hold on to your hats, because this coin has a story that's worth far more than a single cent. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why this 1976 penny could be worth a small fortune, so stick around, let's set the stage. 1976 was a monumental year for the United States. The nation was celebrating its 200th birthday, the bicentennial. This year was filled with parades, celebrations, and special commemorations to mark 200 years of independence. But did you know that this year also brought some changes to U.S. coinage? The 1976 penny may not have undergone drastic design changes like the bicentennial quarters, but it's still a coin with an intriguing history. In fact, the 1976 penny marks an important point in the production of coins because it came at a time when the U.S. Mint was still using a higher copper content in pennies, an era that would soon be phased out as copper prices soared. So, what makes this particular penny so interesting? Well, let's start with the errors. Yes, even pennies can have mistakes, and the 1976 penny is no exception. There are a few rare minting errors that could make a 1976 penny not just valuable but also the crown jewel of your collection. One of the most coveted varieties of the 1976 penny is the double die error. This happens when the die used to stamp the coin strikes the blank planchet more than once, but slightly out of alignment. The result is a double image, often most visible in the date and the lettering around Abraham Lincoln's portrait. Imagine holding a penny with double versions of "Liberty, in God We Trust," or the date, 1976. If you happen to have one of these double die pennies, congratulations, because this is a serious find for collectors. Another error to watch for is the off-center strike. This occurs when the penny was not properly aligned with the coin press, causing the design to be struck too far to one side of the coin. In extreme cases, parts of the design may be completely missing from the coin, making it a truly unique and sought-after collectible. Off-center pennies from 1976 are rare, and when they do pop up, collectors are eager to get their hands on them. Then we have the repunched mint mark, especially if your 1976 penny has a D mint mark. This happens when the mint mark is applied incorrectly during the striking process and then repunched in a slightly different spot. These coins are fascinating because they give collectors a rare look into the minting process. A 1976 penny with a clear repunched mint mark is a beautiful example of how even small errors can turn a simple coin into a sought-after piece of history. And here's where things get really interesting: proof coins. The U.S. Mint produced proof coins for collectors, and they were made with a special process that gives them a shiny, mirror-like finish. Proof coins from 1976 can be especially valuable if they were struck with a minting error. Since proof coins were made in smaller quantities and with extra care, any flaw on a proof coin can make it worth a lot more than a regular circulation coin. So, you're probably wondering, how much could one of these rare 1976 pennies actually be worth? Well, it all depends on the condition, rarity, and type of error. If you happen to have a 1976 penny with a double die, off-center strike, or another rare error in excellent condition, that coin could easily fetch a premium price. And here's the big reveal: if you're holding a perfect example of a 1976 penny with a rare error, it could be worth as much as $58,000. Yes, you heard that right. $58,000 for a single 1976 penny. The key is in the rarity of the coin and its condition. With a minting error, especially in top-notch condition, it becomes much more than just pocket change. It becomes a treasure. So, the next time you come across a 1976 penny, don't just toss it in a jar. Take a closer look. Check the date, inspect the mint mark, and pay attention to any unusual features that could indicate an error. That small penny might be more valuable than you ever imagined. Top 7, and last unique coin. We're diving into a fascinating piece of American history that you might not have thought much about: the 1978 United States 1-cent penny. Now, we all know pennies. Some people see them as pocket change, but for serious collectors, even the most common coins can be worth a lot more than you think. And trust me, the 1978 penny is one of those coins that's hiding a treasure trove of value if you know what to look for. You may think, it's just a penny, how much could it really be worth? Well, I'm here to tell you that the 1978 penny could hold a secret that might just make it worth thousands of dollars. And I'm not talking about any random penny. We're talking about rare minting errors, unique features, and little-known details that can turn this simple coin into a collector's dream. Let's start with the basics. The 1978 penny was produced at a time when the U.S. Mint was still using the traditional copper composition for pennies. This was before they switched to a copper-plated zinc version in 1982. That means the 1978 penny is made of solid copper, making it not only a historical piece but also a symbol of the times. The copper content alone gives it a certain charm and appeal, but it's the rare errors and the conditions of some specific coins that truly make it stand out in the world of numismatics. Now, let's talk about the errors. This is where things start getting really exciting. The 1978 penny has a variety of minting errors that could make it valuable, and these errors are what collectors search for. One of the most popular errors is the double die obverse. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin makes multiple impressions on the coin, resulting in a slight shift of the design. The most noticeable places where this error appears are in the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," and even the date itself. If you find a 1978 penny with visible doubling in these areas, you may be holding onto a rare find that could be worth a lot more than its face value. Another sought-after error is the off-center strike. This happens when the penny is not properly aligned with the press, causing the design to be off-center. Sometimes, the image gets stamped too far to one side, causing part of the coin to be blank. These coins are incredibly rare, and they make for a very unique addition to any collection. A 1978 penny with a noticeable off-center strike is a prize for collectors who appreciate the beauty and rarity of minting mistakes. Then, we have the repunched mint mark. This error is especially common on 1978 pennies minted in Denver. The mint mark, the D for Denver, is often repunched incorrectly, causing a faint double mint mark or a shifted one. These errors might seem small, but they add a lot of value to a coin, as collectors are always on the lookout for these little quirks. It might take a keen eye to spot these errors, but once you do, you'll realize just how special they are. Of course, there's always the possibility of planchet errors, coins struck on the wrong metal or planchet, which results in a misfit coin. For instance, a 1978 penny struck on a nickel or dime planchet would be extremely rare and highly valuable. These types of errors are rare, but they do happen, and if you happen to stumble upon one, you could be sitting on a small fortune. Now let's talk about condition. You might have heard this before, but it's always worth repeating. Condition matters a lot in the world of coin collecting. A worn or heavily circulated penny, even if it has a minting error, won't fetch nearly as much as one that's in near perfect or uncirculated condition. If you come across a 1978 penny that's clean, with sharp details and minimal wear, it will be worth significantly more. And if it also has an error like the double die or an off-center strike, its value will only continue to rise. So, here's the part you've been waiting for. The 1978 penny could be worth an incredible amount of money if it has the right characteristics. While most regular 1978 pennies are worth just 1 cent, a rare error coin in excellent condition could fetch prices that will make you rethink what you're carrying in your pocket. And now, for the big reveal. If you have a 1978 penny that's in fantastic condition with a minting error like a double die, off-center strike, or a rare planchet mistake, it could be worth as much as $54,000. Yes, you heard me right, $54,000 for a single penny. This is the power of rare coin collecting. What seems like a small, insignificant coin could turn out to be a priceless treasure for the right person. So, before you toss any old pennies into a jar, take a second to check them out, especially if you've got a 1978 cent in your collection. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of rare pennies, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more coin hunting tips, and ring that notification bell so you never miss out on future discoveries. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy collecting.